name's Kevin Zerr. The farm name, we do business with, I have a partner, my brother, and I do business as K&K Farms. The main farm is located 4 miles west of Gove, and then we have several other locations. We have corn, wheat, and cattle. Well, I farmed when I was in my early 20s, and then I left and went and sold machinery for about 15 years. The farm when I moved back 18 years ago was like 3,200 acres. Pretty soon it was 6,000, and well, we were spending a lot of time burning a lot of fuel, farming ground, and having a hard time keeping up. And actually my father, who's retired, suggested that we maybe look at a sprayer. And we bought a pull type first, and liked it real well, except we just couldn't get over enough ground with it still because the farm continued to grow. So once we started, there's just no looking back. That's, in my opinion, no-till's the only way to go, and if you're doing that, owning your own sprayer it's a must. I know people that say, well, I just can't own my own sprayer. I think you could own your own sprayer before you could own your own combine or before you could own anything. We own our own combines and stuff too, but I think a sprayer is a must. I've roughly been doing 20,000 acres a year. I'll go over wheat stubble a couple of times in the fall. I'll spray my standing wheat once in the spring. I go over my corn ground usually once, a lot of times twice in a year. We were doing business with Simpson Farm Enterprises at Ransom. We had ran 2 spray coops, and the one I had was getting quite a few hours on it. And actually a friend of mine had went down and driven one of the Apaches and said, boy, it rides nice. And then with the salesman, I talked to him, and they came up and did a demonstration on my farm. Had quite a few other people at that demonstration, and I drove it. And truthfully, I just fell in love with Auto Boom. And a few months later, we ended up buying one. Price was huge. I had tried out a Case IH, and I'd tried out a John Deere. I was dissatisfied. I wasn't used to running the hydrostats, but I wasn't satisfied with that, but more so than anything, I wasn't satisfied with their booms. They didn't have Auto Boom on, and the Apache did, and I liked the Auto Boom. And the price was quite a bit less, even though it had Auto Boom. Well, I had a coupe that had 60-foot booms, then I had one that had 72-foot of booms, and I got 90-foot now. And I run about the same speed, but I don't have to stop and fill near as often with the 1,000-gallon tank. So I can get over 25% or 30% more. You know, I'd read the advertisements, didn't know whether I believed them or not, you know. The spray coupe probably did a little better on fuel, but it's not a hydrostat either, but it's so light. It doesn't take much power. It's a small engine, but then when I ran a hydrostat, I think I ran an hour, and it was so obvious how much fuel it used. And when I ran this thing, you know, we ran all day, didn't use much fuel. I've been able to go here anytime I believe I could have went with the lighter machines that I had before. I've made very few tracks in my fields, and I've always been able to keep going. I've been happy with it in muddy conditions. I've ran right through water and terrace channels, and it doesn't seem to be a problem. I had direct drive before and never got stuck. Yes, this was a larger machine, and it was heavier, but I wasn't concerned about getting stuck, you know, and actually I read some of the things that say in a hydrostat, generally speaking, is just running on 2 wheels anyway, as far as propulsion. And I guess incidentally, I've never been stuck with my Apache, and I don't know how many acres I've been over, 50,000. We're spread out about from one end to the other 42 or 45 miles, and I have a semi that I haul the sprayer on, but I probably have 3 places where I actually park. I don't reload it between fields. I have a big tank on there, and at times I'll have to run another 12 or 14 miles, and that's nice, you know. It's just quicker to drive that 14 miles than to load it back up and chain it down and go on. And the 35 miles an hour road speed is really nice. And it drives down the road real good. I'm not fighting it all the time or anything like that. We have probably 95% of our ground is terraced. And they're not your typical terraces either, I don't believe. I believe they're taller than most people's, and auto boom. That's just, if I turned auto boom off and tried to carry the booms, I'd hate this one. You know, I'd hate them all. Without auto boom, it's just difficult to spray in terraces. We spray in corn, and when the corn's tall, you want to be able to get over it. And I'd had a shorter coupe and a taller coupe, and I like the taller coupe for visibility, and I drive probably faster than most people do. I typically run 16 miles an hour, and unless I'm shooting over one of the terraces, then I slow down at every terrace and then speed back up. But I also start the fields running 16 miles an hour, and I would say I've never hit a post, and it's the visibility, the end of the boom is excellent. And not having to fight up and down because it has auto boom. That just takes a lot of the worry out of that first round. Well, at 16 miles an hour, you can take your nicest pickup out, and it's not any, I think it's rougher than this probably, especially when you hit the bigger holes. Something I notice, or that I like real well, and I don't know how other machines are, but this thing seems to ride about the same whether it's the hydraulic suspension, but I think it rides the same whether you got 1,000 gallons in it or whether you got 20 gallons in it. It seems to ride the same either way, and I'm not sure they all do that. The pull type, I mean, you got all that weight of the tractor. I usually ran faster than most guys run with a tractor too. I probably ran 9. About 7 is as fast as probably you should have went, and with the coupe I could run as fast. But my booms flew all over the place on it. Here they ride real nice. When I'm driving, I'm just sitting there. I'm not having to constantly raise and lower my booms. I'm not having to turn the steering wheel. You're watching for bumps. That's what I'm watching for in case I need to slow down. That's the only thing I'm doing, speeding up and slowing down. I believe I can run in a little stronger breeze because I have auto boom than if I didn't have auto boom, because my booms typically don't get over, I think you're supposed to run somewhere in the 40 inches off the ground or something area is where it's set for. I doubt that I very seldom will have a boom that gets up in the air over 6 foot. And typically it's just right down hugging the ground, and so I do a better job there. The auto boom, you know, I've commented you're usually running about, the boom's about this high off the ground, and until my corn is about this high, which you can't hardly spray it once it's past about this tall, I use auto boom. The tires run between the rows. If you're between the rows with these tires, those tires will be between the rows if it's set up right. And with all those terraces, I don't have any problem tearing down corn. Matter of fact, I tried it without tried carrying it, and your booms, they'll go down, hit the ground, and then that's just, and I've watched some neighbors running, a red one or a green one, and their booms are out there waving, and they'll get into the corn, and then it turns back. I just don't have any of those problems because I got the auto boom. The few down times that I've had, one time I was spraying out in a pasture and caught a couple of bigger cattle ruts, I guess you'd call them, and right back here in the steering, I don't even know what you call it, pulled apart. Whether it should have or shouldn't have, I don't know, but it did. So I had a couple of days down there while they came up and fixed it, or a day. They got in and fixed it pretty fast. I've had some boom problems. They came up and put brand new booms on for me. I'd had it a year, and that was at no cost to me. And where that one broke, I just braced the new one. Simply, just a simple little brace, and I've never had any trouble since. You know, the dealership is 70 miles from here, but the few times that I've had trouble, they're here within a day or two, and if they can, they're here that day yet. And I just haven't had very many problems. The salesman's been good. If I call him, he gets right back to me, or else he answers the phone, and you know, that's been excellent. Typically, there's a right time to spray, and that's usually 3 or 4 days. And most often I have, in each little block, I'll maybe have 2,000 acres that I need to do. And I can do that in 2 days with this sprayer. And it's just real important to be able to spray on a timely basis. If you had to wait for a custom applicator, he might be a week later. It takes a lot more chemical when you're not doing it at the right time. And that adds up to a lot more cost. When you're doing your own spraying, you can buy, there's a lot of wholesalers around to buy chemicals from, and you can probably save 30% more or less, however you want to word it. You can save about 30% by buying chemicals from various different people. And then you can save because you can put on, you don't have to double up on the amount because you're doing it at the right time. We would probably need to run our cattle and our corn and everything. I would either be just wore out driving tractor, or we'd have to hire a couple of guys to run tractors if we were doing that. And as far as expanding the farm some more, I'd be willing to now because you can see that you can handle it. But farming it, you'd be tired of it. You wouldn't want any more. I have relatives who have green ones and red ones, and they can't hardly get 1,000 acres with 100 gallons. I can do 1,400 acres with 100 gallons. That's quite significant, especially when you figure they paid $40,000 more for their machine than I paid for mine. There's a lot of Apaches running in this area, and a lot of them are because I've told them for the money, I don't think you could be as happy with anything else, and I've told many of them, hop in, let's go for a ride. And one of the first things I show them is the auto boom. If they've had any experience with another kind of sprayer, they're amazed how well that works. And most of my neighbors have a lot of terraces also. That plus the experience I've had with the dealership and with the company, I see no reason to look elsewhere. Simple to run. I don't even have a computer at my house. I'm kind of a computer idiot. And everything on there is just real simple to run. I start up in the morning and take off, and I usually get 1,200 acres. That's my goal. Sometimes I'll get more than that done in a day. And it's just push a few buttons and away you go.